Fabrizio is an international sales, marketing, and brand building expert with over a decade of experience in the pet food industry. Currently, he's a general manager of Italian pet food brand Mr. Pet and is also responsible for introducing the brand and products to consumers in different markets across the world. Mr. Pet has recently expanded to the Chinese market.
Hi all, I'm Fabrizio. I'm the general manager of Mr. Pet, an Italian producer near Parma in the heart of the Food Valley. We are one of the excellence of the Made in Italy worldwide. I'm here today and very happy to be here today to talk about how COVID-19 impact on our life, on the pet industry, and also on how companies like Mr. Pet respond on that. And in particular, how in such crowded market where many brands enter every week, how companies like Mr. Pet try to differentiate their value proposition and their brand. So starting from the COVID-19, it was such difficult, stressful period for our life, professionally, personally, and in particular for the pet industry. We face a tremendous positive direction and trends. And these trends help to strengthen the bond between owners and pets with a tremendous increase of the pet population. Many pet owners reinforce their awareness of the importance of having a pet in the family and how much this contributes to the overall well-being of the family itself and the pets too. As a consequence, pet owners reassess their priorities, their value, their needs, and start to focus much more on their physical health, mental health for themselves, for their pets too, and focusing on more quality, healthy product for their pets. Pet owners and consumer forced to stay at home, like all of us, become more digital and virtually consumer, shifting towards buying and doing stuff for their pets online, with the consequence of a huge increase of the online purchases. And how company like Mr. Pet respond to that? At Mr. Pet, we dramatically increased our presence on social media channel, and we gave more visibility to our new communication that we align towards the new consumer behavior and trends after the COVID. So we made the decision to stay much closer to our consumer digitally. And also we made a decision to renew completely our website and realign all the communication and messages to the new trends. And as a consequence, we on a weekly basis, we start to work much closer to our trade partners and retailer and their consumer by providing better communication and tools and investing on new recipe, high quality recipe from our kitchen. Today in the pet industry market, we see many differences versus last year, especially versus the first 6 months of lockdown. We're still facing a tremendous increase of the pet population, especially for dogs and cats, which is having a tremendous impact on our production food demand and ingredient supply chain. This trend also stimulated a lot the trade to improve dramatically their services, especially for the brick-and-mortar shops versus the online, and to the consumers and pet owners, improving their product selection and quality, and also the quality of the customer service, in particular for home delivery online assistance. The COVID crisis pushed a lot the increase of online purchases, with the growth rates higher than ever. In this positive trend of the pet industry, many new companies, new brands entering the market. And at Mr. Pet, we start to evaluate and focus much more on how to differentiate ourselves in such crowded market. And first of all, we focus on improve our value proposition, starting from the food, starting from the real valuable assets of the company. In Mr. Pet, we have in particular two assets, which are the behind of the key point of difference. And first of all, the territory where Mr. Pet is born, where Gambrelli family, and owner of Mr. Pet, built their history through 3 generations. And also their culture, the culture of their family, and the knowledge of the raw material, the ingredients of the food valley, and how to treat this raw material, how to cook them. Gambarelli family, they have 40 years of experience in meat and fish processing raw food with their company, achieving an amazing expertise. And this allowed us to set a very clear point of difference that make us emerging and excelling in this crowded market. And also we start to focus on pets and how to build successfully our brand internationally. First of all, try to first assess, understand the culture and the behavior of a given country and the population, like China. And as a second point, we start to improve our ability to inspire. So in a way to establish a stronger emotional connection with our pet lovers, because we realize every day that pet owners need to be inspired by the food they feed their pets. And first of all, this inspiration comes from our ability on how to communicate, transfer the key point of difference. So in the end, to try to make our brand really desired. And in terms of reinforce our value proposition, we implement a massive action in the value proposition awareness strategy to the final consumer, to the trade, and implementing a different level of communication to both consumer and trade through social media and trade media platform. And very important also is the innovation. Implementing a brand in a given market is very tough and it takes time, but you need to keep innovating your formulas and the way you cook and the way you communicate your innovation. And last but not least is to find trustable, a committed partner that they understand your value proposition and they are 100% focused on implementing this value proposition and your strategy. After the 12 months of the COVID situation at Mr. Pet, we start to receive many new demands from new markets, and in particular we start to focus on China and Hong Kong markets, making an important agreement with the local player that led into the foundation of Mr. Pet China distribution together. And we start to focus on the market, to assess the market, and we immediately noticed that the cultural change that the country has faced in the last few years impacts in a positive way in the way to feed their pets, especially with the younger generation. And despite of the continuous growth of the China market, we noticed that still China has a huge room to grow. And in particular, we focus on the ratio, prepared food ratio, which in China is still around 10% compared to Europe, where we have over 70% on average. And about the business model, trade business model, China is dominated by 70% online with online platform and players. In particular, is about how to support and launch a brand and the brand awareness. We noticed that the online and social media are very strategic and critical to support the brand, in particular with WeChat, which is the most powerful tool to reach the key opinion leader and the brand ambassador. In terms of pet markets, and we noticed that especially for dogs, the small, medium size is dominant. And during the COVID, the cat population rise a lot, and as a consequence, the food demand. In terms of bigger size, the big volume like 12, 15, or 20 kg are dominant in the market, and while the smaller bags are more for the physical stores as a trial size. In terms of consumers, what we learn immediately that, as I mentioned before, that about the new generation, the new young generation in China, that young married couples are the mainstream of pet owners. And this young generation has been brought up with a more cosmopolitan and open-minded view and mindset, and with a better knowledge of the nutrition and how to feed and cherish their pet. While Hong Kong consumer many years ahead, been for many decades in an international environment and mindset towards pets and how to feed them. So I want to thank you for your attention. It was a pleasure for me to talk to you, and see you next time.
Hey Fabrizio, thank you so much for sending over your presentation. I'm sure all the viewers have kind of like some follow-up questions just like me. So also thank you for jumping on this call with me to answer some follow-up questions. One of the things that I noticed that you mentioned in the video was that during COVID, you started communicating more with consumers directly on social media. What has the response been like? Like, was there any impact on sales or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we realigned all our communication after COVID, and as we noticed many changes in the pet food trends, especially in the consumer behavior, and we immediately push a lot our social media communication, and we get a lot of requests of information, and on the way Mr. Pet approach his nutritional philosophy and the way we cook, and especially about the territory, because I push a lot of the communication around the territory where we stay and we are located, which is the Food Valley, which is the richest ingredient place in the world, with the highest ingredient certification in Europe and across the rest of the country. So, and we start to see lots of interaction about this topic, and also about more requests about our brands and their point of difference. So, especially when after we highlight our quality awards, two of our top brands were recognized with the Quality Awards 2021. And so we stimulated a lot of pet lovers, pet owners, and we got a lot of inquiries. And in terms of sales, we start to have through Facebook and our online platform inquiries especially from the Asian countries and Middle East.
So does that also mean if you're getting kind of more inquiries from customers that you're considering a direct-to-consumer strategy where you sell to them directly rather than through partners?
Okay, yeah, no, that's something that we are thinking about, but at the moment we are much more focused to improve our, let's say, support to our trade partners and final consumer. We believe that we are not ready yet, and maybe in the near future we have a plan about that.
Okay, and coming back to kind of like communicating with consumers, you recently entered Hong Kong and China and started promoting your products there. Is there any kind of difference in the way you communicate with consumers in China versus Europe or the rest of the world where you're active?
Yeah, pretty much our communication is aligned with what we do in Europe. We had more emphasis about our value proposition and the Food Valley, the territory, and as in Asia, and particularly in China, they have a strong heritage of the Italian, let's say, industries like food, fashion, and they really enjoy see about food stuff and how we are connected to the territory. So we had more emphasis, and also our partner in China engage a few key opinion leaders and brand ambassador, where we start to reinforce and support the launch of the brand in the markets. And as we know, in China, Chinese pet owners, especially because the young, thanks to the young generation, they start to focus much more on the welfare, on the high quality products. So we noticed immediately that we start to get more attention in this direction.
Yeah, and I guess also one of the things you mentioned in your video was that innovation on the food front is important to kind of differentiate yourself as a brand in the market. Being from the place where you are, I guess that's an obvious fertile ground for more innovation. Do you have any kind of plans of developing new types of products, or just different angles or different claims for your products in the future that come to that food innovation part?
Yeah, I mean, at Mr. Pet, start from the meat fish processing company and towards the pet food production, they've been always investing and innovating with new technology and machines. So they pay a lot of attention about the latest technology. Recently, we implement in our new production plants the latest technology from Wenger, thermal twin, which allow to include the highest level of fresh ingredients in terms of meat and vegetable and fruits, and also to achieve almost 95% of protein digestibility, which is the highest in the market. So basically, we are planning now to launch new recipe based on this new technology.
All right, great. Well, thank you very much for all the insights. Thank you again for your presentation. I think this was very clarifying as well with follow-up questions. So maybe see you at Zoomark or Interzoo very soon. And thanks again.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.